Right friends, welcome back to News in Focus. This is the fifth capsule for 41st week. First one is 39% of Indian kids are stunted. In India, 39% of children are stunted. I will come to you little later with regard to what is the meaning of stunting or wasting or undernourishment. Let us look at the report given by International Food Policy Research Institute. This Global Hunger Index 2016 was released recently by International Food Policy Research Institute. This International Food Policy Research Institute or IFPRI is headquartered in Washington DC in United States of America. Every year this organization releases the Global Hunger Index, and this year 118 countries were ranked. These 118 countries are either underdeveloped countries or developing countries, and here almost half of the countries have serious or alarming hunger levels. Here countries are ranked based on four key parameters. Four key parameters are undernourishment. You may ask, what is meant by undernourishment? Undernourishment means the nutrients, that means the required carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals are not sufficient for the human being. That state is known as undernourishment. That means carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, whatever are required for the healthy growth of human being are not sufficient in the food intake. That is undernourishment. The second one is child mortality. That means the children dying till they attain 5th birthday. Children dying before attaining 5th birthday is child mortality. The third one is stunting. Stunting means not having proper growth for their age. That means not having proper height for their age. That means the growth is affected because the lack of proper nutrients in the food. Then fourth one is wasting. What is the meaning of wasting? Wasting means not having proper weight in comparison to their height. So these two terms are very important. One is the stunting, second one is the wasting. Stunting is not having proper growth in comparison to their age. Then second, wasting. Wasting is not having proper weight in comparison to their height. Right? So these are the four parameters where the countries are ranked for Global Hunger Index and United Nations goal, that is as per Sustainable Development Goals, is to end the hunger by 2030. That is very important point. And important findings I have given here. India is ranked 97 out of 118 countries ranked, and our Global Hunger Index has got score of 28.5. If the score is less, that is better. If the score is high, that is worse. If the score is 40 or 50, it is still worse. And if the score is 10, 20 like that, it is better. So here, if the score in Global Hunger Index is less, that indicates the situation is much better in the country. And in early 1990s, in India, 60% of Indian children were stunted. So the stunted children reduced from 60% to 39% in 25 years. Stunted children reduced from 60% to 39% in almost 25 years. It is no doubt an achievement, but still lot more needs to be done. And in Asia, India has the 5th highest GHI score, and better than only Afghanistan, Timor, Pakistan and North Korea. So here a lot more needs to be done by India. And if you look at the countries globally, Central African Republic, Chad, and Zambia had the highest levels of hunger. And if you look at the region wise, Africa south of Sahara has got the highest hunger levels, followed by South Asia. And if you look at further information, in 1992, India's score in Global Hunger Index was 46.4 and it now reduced to 28.5. And another important aspect is almost 18 crore people, or about 15% of the country's population, are undernourished. They are not getting sufficient nutrients. And in 1992, almost 25 years ago, 22% were undernourished. The reduction of undernourishment is 7%, from 22% to 15%. But because of our huge population, India has the largest number of people with hunger. And similarly, the prevalence of wasting, as I have already told you, wasting means not having sufficient weight in comparison to their height. The prevalence of wasting reduced from around 20% in early 90s to about 15% now. And similarly, as I have already told you, stunting reduced from 62% to around 39% during the past 25 years. And interesting point is, countries like Myanmar, Ghana, Vietnam improved much better in comparison to India. And if you look at Myanmar, this undernourishment reduced from 63% to 14%. And if you look at Vietnam, it reduced from 45% to 11%. And if you look at Ghana, it reduced from 37% to just over 2%. And countries like Ghana, Vietnam, Myanmar able to do much more in comparison to India. That is the point to convey. Right, friends? Now, how to reduce undernourishment? Here, better access to nutritious food to the poorer sections of the society is the need of the hour, and our public distribution system must concentrate on the nutrients, and food security programs must be made more comprehensive with the more focus on nutritious food, as I have already told you just now. And another important aspect is post-harvesting losses in India in vegetables and fruits is substantially high, and that should be reduced considerably. And per capita availability of fruits is just 120 grams and vegetables it is 270 grams per day. And if we reduce post-harvesting losses, then this per capita availability will increase substantially. At the same time, another important aspect is the intake is not uniform in our country. Poorer sections of people are not able to access fruits as well as vegetables because of cost involved. And the per capita availability of pulses is the worrying point. All of you are well aware, pulses is the main thing for protein, and most of Indian population depends on pulses for their proteinous intake, and here the per capita pulses availability is almost stagnant at 47 grams per day. In fact, if you look at the days prior to this green revolution, the availability was more than 47 grams. The pulses availability has not increased. In fact, it decreased in comparison to the availability in comparison to the green revolution days. So, pulses production needs to be increased immediately. And availability of milk increased over the years, and India is the largest producer of milk in the world, but poorer sections of society must access milk, and programs like ICTS must concentrate more on the availability of milk and eggs. And another important aspect is, in our country, the availability of eggs is per annum 60 per person. I am talking roughly The availability of eggs in our country is around 60 per annum, but as per World Health Organization estimates, at least availability of eggs must be around 180 per annum. So, eggs production must be increased in our country, and ICDS must concentrate more on the availability of milk and eggs, because up to 6 years of age in the children's life is most important. If you look at stunting, wasting are concerned, the children, whoever are not able to get nutritious food up to 6 years of age, are not going to become productive citizens in the long run. So, most important to concentrate on children up to 6 years of age. Right friends, let us hope ICDS as well as targeted public distribution system on nutrients should be the need of the hour, so as to bring the country's population out of this undernourishment, wasting, stunting. Right friends, look at the second one. Photocopy judgment, victory for access to education. Recently, Delhi High Court gave judgment. I would like to tell you a few points about this. Rameshwari Photocopy Services. This is situated in Delhi University campus, and this photocopy services is making Xerox copies of various books and preparing course content as prescribed by the teachers in the university. Then this Rameshwari Photocopy Services is selling the photocopied material to the student, and in the year 2012, 3 publishers, Taylor and Francis, Cambridge University publishers as well as University of Oxford, 3 publishers approached Delhi High Court against the photocopy shop because they felt that it violated the rights under Copyright Act. Then Delhi High Court gave its judgment and it supported the photocopying, stating that copyright is a statutory right and it is not a divine right or natural right, and any statutory right is also limited by exceptions carved out by law. And I listed out here the provisions of Copyright Act 1957, Section 14 versus Section 52. Section 14 gives exclusive rights such as right to reproduction on copyright owners, and commercial exploitation of the work can be done only by the copyright owners. That means it gives full rights to the publishers like Oxford University, Cambridge University, but there are exceptions. Exceptions are as per Section 52. Section 52(1)(1) deals with the reproduction of any work by a teacher or a pupil in the course of instruction or as part of the questions to be answered in an examination, and in answers to such questions, here Delhi High Court interpreted that the course of instruction is quite huge and the ambit of the word, the course of instruction is quite wide, and the required material can be copied from the books and circulated. That is basically to give access to education. So, Delhi High Court interpreted this exception under 52 in much wider perspective. That means it defined the term, the course of instruction, in much wider perspective. And here, pros and cons, I will tell you the positive aspects. The judgment has to be viewed as victory for access to education, and copyright is intended to increase but not to impede the harvest of knowledge. That is one aspect. And end goal of technology is improving our lives, both material and intellectual. and copyright, especially in literary works, is not an inevitable divine or natural right, and it is a statutory right, and some exceptions are there, and here knowledge cannot be limited, and any work should not impede the spread of knowledge. Knowledge is the most important aspect for humanity, and the judgment is to be viewed as victory for access to education. And another important aspect which comes to everybody's mind is, what about authors or publishers? Authors invested their time, and with a lot of creativity they created these works. Then if Delhi High Court interprets access to knowledge is having paramount importance, then what is left for the authors or publishers? I posed several questions here. Please go through them. When copyright is to motivate the creative activity of authors in order to benefit the humanity, then what is left for the copyright owners? And when there is no limit to interpret the term in the course of instruction, then everything can come under this phrase. And does it justify the actions of private photocopy owners in the university premises within the expression in the course of instruction? That means photocopy owners can do whatever they want, and they can take shelter under the ambit of in the course of instruction. Whether it is justified, that is the important question. So I have given positive aspects. That means access to education is paramount importance, and at the same time, what about authors or publishers? And several questions were posed here as far as authors are concerned. Right friends, with this we discussed two aspects of News in Focus this week. One is on undernourishment. The second one is on photocopy judgment, victory for access to education. Please do join for Read Between the Lines. Have a nice day. Thank you.